What's up, everybody? Fast Hours Podcast, episode 76. Rory Flynn, Drew Brucker. What's going on? We're back.
Back. We've been consistent, guys. This is all very important to us. But we've had, I will say, I've been after listening to Finn's podcast last week, our guest spot. If you weren't here, I would definitely recommend go checking that one out for anyone who wants some dirty, in the weeds, nitty gritty graphic design and just like straight up AI nerd out session. That was a good one. So, we've been pumping. It's been a strategy on our part to get more guests on to like give people different perspectives other than ours. But I think that one was one of, hit between him, Salma, Tyler, and J Bugs. Like, good run of
Good
guests.
run. And we're not done. We're not
not
done,
done.
Roy, because the next 2 weeks after today, we're scheduled to have guests on. So just to guys give you a little bit of preview and kind of like prepare for that. Those conversations should be awesome. We've got two really great people that are in this space that I think are going to provide totally different perspectives, but equally valuable stuff. First being Blacklight. Rory especially has mentioned Blacklight, many times on this podcast. Yes. Big presence on X. Also, I think similar to Finn, he's got very strong perspectives, built-in experience. And that extends beyond just the creative portion of AI, which I appreciate, right? Because like even Finn last week, we were he's talking about the out of distribution. It's like, I think we've been thinking about that internally, but we've never really like talked about that as a group and named it, And so like it was good to like get into that, and I thought that was like super dope and a great part of that podcast. But I think Blacklight's going to be able to share that experience as well. But he's got some really great perspectives, big presence on X. Give him a follow ahead of next week's episode. Also, we've got Rourke Heath on the show. We're planning to have him the week after Blacklight comes on. So I think this will be mid-August that we're aiming for here. If you're not familiar with him, I think Instagram is his main channel, right, Rory?
Yeah, I think so. He's got one of the biggest AI communities on the planet, if not the biggest one. So Rourke's awesome, great dude, really strong mission, but just like super technical, super knowledgeable. Not just like if you've seen any influencer peddling AI stuff on Instagram, they've probably copied his video. Let's put it that way. He's normally the first one out, and then everyone just models their videos after his. So,
that's a hard game to play too, because there is a lot of value in being first or very, very early to report these things. And then like this reminds me of somebody else I know that does this or was doing this very heavily. He just stressed, he told me how stressful it was to be in that sort of group, because you're trying to be very quick and then couple that right with these high level visuals that are going into this. I mean, you can just see that these are well done, but there's also a lot that goes into these edits. Like these are not crappy edits at all, right? Like these are things that, take planning, take time to edit and tweak. They're layered, right? So they're, like going into Premiere and probably doing a lot of stuff in there. So like, I think that's a heavy game, but Rourke's been around. Yeah. He's been around for years now. I mean, he was definitely one of the first, but like felt to me like he was one of the first. He's been doing this for a long time. So I think he's going to have some really good observations, both from the creator side, the community that he's leading, things that he's seeing in the space.
He also has an interesting content creation background. And I'll leave the story for when he comes on. I don't know if he knows I'm going to ask him. During COVID and like what got him on like the content creator path, and it's awesome. Like it's hilarious, it's unique, it's very original. And I was like, dude, this is no wonder you're here. Like he's it's a good story. Rourke's a good dude. Hopefully we get to get in depth in a little stuff because he's doing so much. So yeah, it's been, like I said, we've been pumping on the guests. We're trying, guys. We're trying to give you more than just Drew and I.
Yeah, I think like, and we appreciate like all the, like I think a couple weeks ago we were asking for, hey, what now? What kind of things would be good to get into? What would be, who would be some guests to get on the show? So we've got some additional backlogging and planning we're doing for guests there, but also some topics. I think what we're going to do too is, I know a couple of people have been asking for sort of like deep dives into the node-based workflows, right? So I think we're looking at a deep dive episode on that as well coming up in the future. So I'm excited, man. I mean, this might be the most planned and organized we've been since we started this thing. Actually, I'm not even gonna say probably, and I still think we're not really. There's so much opportunity to like get even more organized and polished with it. But like we're having a blast, man. I think like this is probably a period of time where me personally, like I'm probably having just as much fun as I've ever had been doing this.
Yeah.
And we're 76 episodes in. So let's roll.
And this made AI feel not as laborious as it has been. I know we said that last week, and there was a comment on here that was like, "Why are you using AI if you're using AI and complaining about AI?" It's like, well, yeah, dude. Anything's. What do you not complain about in your job? Do you love every aspect of your job? You know what I mean? Like, give me a break.
This is dice. We're not shilling AI. I mean, like
Yeah.
how irresponsible and echo chambery would it be if we're just pro AI on everything? I mean, like we've been talking about, there is nothing that is absolutely truthful on either side of the equation. We are not fully AI. Do we use AI? Does AI pay the bills for us? Yes. Are there downsides to AI? Yes. So we're going to talk about them. We're going to be truthful. I mean, of course.
And those, that comment specifically, I'm like, oh yeah, like let's just all look at our current jobs and tell me you have not complained about one thing that you use in that job, whether that be graphic design. If you're a graphic designer and you haven't complained about Photoshop, you are a liar. Like you are 100% a liar. You've complained about it. You've complained about every Adobe product. You've complained about Gmail. You've complained about using Outlook. You've complained about whatever. Like we can complain about it because nothing is perfect. So like that's one. And then I saw someone else comment. Like some of these comments, it's like obviously it's just, they saw Finn on the podcast and was like, can't believe Finn's shilling for AI. I'm like, did you see any of the podcasts where he was talking about the stuff he doesn't do with it? Like
no.
75%.
I think these are people that just run into the episodes, Rory. Like they don't even watch. Like they're not the regular users.
No.
Because you can tell who the regular users are. And I also love that. Keep the comments coming, guys. Like, give us your opinions. Give us, ideas, right? Like this is a open community. We do this for you guys just as much as we do this cathartically for ourselves. And this is all what it's about. We don't want to bring up things that we just think are cool. We're bringing up things that we hope you think are cool, right? And that we think should be talked about on a larger stage. So that's sort of the thought process there. So keep it coming.
And that's a great sort of reminder. Just gotta do one thing. I feel like everyone's been getting it. But I mean, like
10 minutes of the show. I like
it's funny what I like to see is that I never know if anyone's listening at the end, and I see the comments. When we're like, you just got to do one thing. And we get people that are like, yeah, tell your quantum physicist, right? Like that's it. Perfect. Like it makes us happy that people listen to the end. They hear our dumb stuff at the end of the podcast when we're brains about to pour out of the ears, and we've just really dumped our consciousness into this podcast for an hour and a half. But it's that's awesome. So keep it coming. That was our housekeeping. King of transitions here, and king of shifting the segments. I did want to considering that Finn was talking about t-shirt design last week, right? I wanted to show this on the podcast.
And I don't even know about this.
So this was, if I can find it right now, wherever I put it. Here is, we were talking about when I did t-shirt design for Shark Week, right? This was one of the t-shirts that sold millions of units. And this was a 2-second design that I drew up in Illustrator. It was not hard. It was not crazy. But I wanted to sort of like, I had Claude go search Wayback Machine to find it because I didn't have the file, right?
Smart,
so it's like, I was like, go back and find the, from about like 2018, use Wayback Machine, the Discovery Store, right? And then I had it isolate the design so I could like look at it again, which I thought was kind of interesting, right? Just to be like, to look like something that I had created with Illustrator back then, I hand drew some stuff. I used vectors for other stuff, but this was just fun. Like he brought me back to that place where I wanted to go back, and I was like, yeah, I used to draw. And then I'm like looking at the little details, and I'm like, I remember like making that decision. I remember making that decision. And I was just playing with it, right? I'm like, oh, what happens if I would, bring a little bit of a different style to it? Now I'm playing with my designs from 10 years ago, right? Where I'm like, and this goes back to the episode prior to that when we were talking about the 90s stuff, right? And like how things feel a little bit more like you kind of want that weirdness. You want that, like, not that anti-polish, if that makes sense. And I think this was probably a high selling design back then because like the 90s stuff wasn't necessarily back in style then like it is now. You know what I mean? Like in 2018, 2017, you weren't seeing as much like vintage 90s sort of apparel, like that look, that ugly look.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like that maybe started back around COVID times too.
Yeah.
Like that's when you kind of started like seeing those starter jackets from the 90s when we were kids start to pop back up, and then they're like 3X in the price on them. You know, it's like those were like $40 jackets and now you're charging like $150.
You started to see the oversized tees come back, the acid wash, the snapback hats. There was that period where it all kind of like came back around and it was like, oh, we like this again. You know, a little bit more vivid neon colors, like that 2000s sort of like palette started to come back where it wasn't just like sharp, clean. It was like chaotic and a little bit more energy, right? You know, weird hairstyles, bucket hats, like all that stuff came back. But I remember making that design and they were like, why'd you go with this choice? I'm like, I don't know. It reminds me of like a 90s sort of like surf t-shirts that I used to have from, Quicksilver or like Ocean Pacific, stuff like that, Rip Curl, all those brands. And they were like the hot, looked like street chalk design. Like neon colors.
Ooh.
Yeah. And like that kind of stuff. I mean,
I love this jacket. I had that.
What
happened to it?
But see those colors too, like like that color palette was, that teal and purple. That was like a 90s color.
And then look
palette.
at what people are charging for this.
Yeah. Those 90s NBA jerseys are like epic. You know, the Magic with the black Magic jerseys with the pinstripes.
Yeah.
Those are epic. Those 90s Nuggets jerseys are great. Like with Shaq in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are just
these two with Penny and Shaq.
Awesome.
Like I just instantly think Penny and Shaq as soon as I see that.
100%. Then into Tracy McGrady. But like the Raptors from the 90s had the sick uniforms.
I love the Grizzlies. I thought the Grizzlies also was my favorite. Let me see.
Same thing. They had the cool Raptor with the sick font, like not like this digital. Everything is uniform. Like look at that font. It's great.
Sick. It's sick.
I mean, it was so much fun back then. Like you look at all the stuff. The Sonics jerseys were cool as hell. These Grizzlies.
These were so hard. Oh my god!
Yeah.
I instantly think of Bryant Big Country Reeves. I think of
Mike Bibby.
Who else? Mike Bibby.
Or was that Timberwolves?
No, that's right.
That was
Mike Bibby.
Right.
Yep, for sure.
These are. If anyone outside of the U.S. If you want some really awesome inspiration, 90s sports jerseys from the NFL, the NBA, the NHL.
They were cooking.
Cool.
They were cooking for like 2 decades there. I thought like 80s and 90s were the best logos.
Suns. The Suns were also sick back then. The purple ones with the like those are it's so cool,
hard.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, like it's so different. You would never see that today.
You would never see that. Now you got all the advertisements on the jerseys now. I mean, ugh.
I mean, it's just it could be right. Like it could be, and then you see right there, right bottom right, that orange. That's what they are now.
Dude, this is where we're at now. Yeah,
just flat, just
my goodness,
flat text, nothing fun. No, everything is like so optimized for like it looks like web. Like that looks like it's optimized for UX UI. Spacing's perfect. Like nothing is.
I think the Hawks had a really good. I can't remember if it was the 90s or the 80s though. Let me see.
They did have some great jerseys back then. Oh, those are sick. I love the Hawks spread across.
This one.
Look at those. I mean, they're awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking 80s with like Dominique and Spud Webb.
Yeah, those are good. I'm trying to think of who the other one was. I always like the even though they're kind of like boring, they're always like the Pacers. I always like the '90s Pistons with the horse with the flames on the.
A lot of people
on
didn't
the
like
main.
that one. I always thought
I
that
like
one
those.
was. I always thought that one was their best one.
Yeah,
Or
those are.
This is 80s. Hold on one second. 90s.
Yeah,
Boom.
like those. I
Yeah.
people don't you don't like them now. I like the white. I always like the white ones. Those were my.
I
That was
always
my
think of
jam.
Grant Hill instantly
Yeah,
with
Grant
that
Hill.
jersey.
It's like
Yeah.
oh, you get the Pistons on the font blowing the flames. Like it's just it's
Everything, dude.
cool.
Everyone. I think even the Heat. Remember just the ball going through there was no net.
Yeah, there was the
Well,
just a
that
little
one.
flame.
Well, that one was hard too. Just the little flame on the tee.
Yeah, and then you can go through almost any. You can go through almost
Oh,
any
where's it at?
team in the '90s and find something that was cool. The Hornets jerseys were obviously awesome. The who else was the Bulls? All the Bulls
Maybe it was the
jerseys were
logo.
great. Naturally,
the logo.
We're forgetting someone here that's going to be like, you forgot about this, but okay, great, sorry. Like they're all good.
Even the
Which might be like
Jazz. Even the Jazz.
Jazz,
Like it was just
right?
like everything was so. It was like. How would you even describe it?
The
It was
Trailblazers.
like,
The '90s Trailblazers were also sick. The that I loved those. Like the Clyde Drexler look
Yeah.
back then. I love these because these were simple, but I just love like these were. I just love that color scheme, and I just thought like the wrap around it looked awesome.
that one's nasty.
Yeah, it's just like it's simple, but it's still got
They started
flavor.
coming back too with the college basketball like I think of Illinois because that's who I root for. Like they started bringing back more of the script, right?
Huh? Yeah.
This and this, and then this was like kind of like a newer iteration on like an 80s thing that they had. It's sort of like that coming back versus like this, which was like one of my least favorite uniforms ever. It's like, what is that? Same with even this one is just like, dude, no.
Yeah.
It's like this is just so sick.
Like I give credit to a lot of the older teams. Like I think the NHL is pretty good with keeping their logos, like the Red Wings. Like that doesn't seem like an optimized logo for right now, but like it's got so much detail. That like those kind of like look at the wheel with the wings, right? Like that's so much more extreme than any logo would be today. And
I love the
I love
Blues.
that.
The Blues had a good one too.
Blues good.
Yeah.
Blues keep hockey's another great one from the '90s that has all the cool jerseys. The Sharks from the '90s, that's like a standard.
Oh, there
Yeah.
you go.
That one,
That was yeah, and
Mighty
even
Ducks.
Yeah. I need to put. But they weren't Winnipeg. Were they Winnipeg before too? I guess they were. Yeah, these ones.
Yeah.
I always loved the Nordiques, the Montreal Nordiques.
There's so many good ones. That's a great one.
So nasty.
It's got like a subtle like
Florida
Inuit
League,
design
you got
there.
the end. Yeah, it's just like everything about it.
It's cool as hell. I love if any of the
We could have a
sports
whole
leagues are
podcast
listening.
on this, obviously.
Yeah. If any of the sports leagues are listening, go back, be a little bit more creative, right? Like,
Just please
go back. Come on.
So I think we had some stuff that stuck with us last week. I think what about this week, man? Where you want to start? I feel like there's a lot that we could touch on. I mean, what's top of mind for you? We can
Have you been struck with the LinkedIn slop button yet? Has anyone reported you?
Baby, I'm sure. I saw this pop up and I instantly was like, I need to post about this because I have some thoughts. I have long been a LinkedIn hater, but somebody that uses the platform. And I think it's that way for a reason. I feel very strongly that LinkedIn does not do a good job with the product. They don't make enough updates. When they do roll out updates, they fall flat. They're not thought out. So if you're not familiar, right, LinkedIn now, I think there was a report, and we might have brought this up on our episode two weeks ago, maybe. It's like something like 40% of posts on LinkedIn now are considered AI slop.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the definition of AI slop? Is it just like you can tell that ChatGPT wrote it entirely, partly, right? Like the patterns, the recognition patterns of it, whatever it is. But I just think like those detectors that detect that anyway, I mean, when it's obvious, sure, but those things aren't perfect by any means
No.
anyway. And so what happened was LinkedIn rolled this out where now on any given post, right, you can click this, and then assuming it's not your own post like it is mine, you're going to get something like that shows up here where you can like click this and it seems like AI slop. So I made a nice little post about this, and I'm like, here's my little diatribe, right? They rolled this out. I think the idea behind it is good because, hey, we do want to combat, all this like poor quality or mediocre quality content.
Poor. There's a lot of poor.
And so, but the problem is there's no really foresight behind it. It just seems like they just shipped it. And so this is for posts, not comments. That was my number one issue because comments are probably worse than the posts. If you posted on here, you know what I'm talking about. I think there were even some on this post, ironically enough. So you've got that.
That is a truly wonderful perspective, Drew.
Right.
How do you see this unfolding in the future?
Here's the real big issue. Maybe the biggest of them all. Anybody can use this button. And how is this button used? Like internally for LinkedIn. Because I don't like somebody, could I just go through and hit AI slop? If I'm a business and I have a competitor, could I just go through and tag these things? Like what are we doing? Like, I feel like there's a weaponization that could come into this. Who's going to review this? Not a human. So AI reviewing AI and deeming slop. How's that working? Based on other products you've put together, I'm guessing not well. And then no definition. I mentioned that earlier. And then, of course, the best part, which is just the irony of it all, LinkedIn, if you remember, was pushing so hard around these AI features. You had to be a premium user, or remember when they had those like thought leader things, like badges you could get if you answered questions, and people were just use AI for that.
Yes.
And now this is the exact thing that they're trying to stop. And I laughed my ass off, and I just had to make a post about it. And, I'll get off my soapbox and let you comment.
I got a lot of strong takes on this one. LinkedIn has been, there's something wrong with LinkedIn, and it's getting worse. And not because it's getting worse because just the platform's getting worse. It's like a strategy and direction like that's getting worse. I don't know who's running it. I don't know what they're doing because it's wrong, right? Like 2 years ago, it was the best professional place to be and present your work because number one, it was verified accounts where everyone was a real person, and two, there was like, you weren't going to go and embarrass yourself because you're in front of the entire professional network there, right? So it was like you brought higher quality content because also like you couldn't do the slop stuff because people would just disregard you. But then they started rewarding that somehow, and I don't understand because a lot of the times, like I've said this before, where they went through like a whole period of, all right, we're going to de-incentive, we're going to stop giving you so much reach because we want to focus on finding your core audience, right? And that has negative effects on two sides, right? Negative effect number one, this is Rory's lecture here, right? Negative effect number one, people like myself who have spent years growing a following now understand that if I put 2 days into a 60-page PDF, which is what I used to do to get insane amount of impressions and business from, I'm not going to do that anymore. So that quality of 60-page free PDF, use it however you'd like it, take it. I will never do that again because I'm not going to get rewarded for it. So like, okay, now I have to play this game of what does the algorithm want and what's going to take me the least amount of time to get there, right? Because that's sort of what when you start to restrict impressions, like I can't even get 20,000 impressions now with 150,000 followers. It's like I can't even get any substantial, and no one feel bad for me. I'm just saying, like, this is what probably real creators on here who've been putting out content for years are feeling, right? And then it's like, okay, fine. So I go to the lowest common denominator of what's the least amount of work I can do to get the highest return. Because why is it worth 5 days of effort to get nothing, right? So there's that. The other side of it is the creators that are just starting, right? So the people that, when we used to get incentivized when you started, right? Like it got you built up on the platform. The same thing that TikTok does. You start, gives you a little bit of a boost, right? and you like, oh, like dopamine hit, I'll post more, right? Like that's where it goes. So now when you don't get that either, it's like you have no one new creating good content, and you have the people that at the top that were, like really putting in a ton of effort are dropping down. And then you also now have AI that writes all this stuff. We're right where we are. And they've created all this whole problem themselves, and they do nothing to govern it. And now this is just like a stupid attempt. Because look, I want to go on there and hit that button for a million things. Like I'm feeling the urge to do it for a million posts, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to take someone else down who's just trying to do what I'm trying to do. Which
Yeah,
is
what's
just like,
what's the repercussions? We don't even know. Like or if you get enough of those, do you get limited reach? Is there a back end score that LinkedIn has that like you get negative net effects from? Like what is it? And I think that's part of the problem is there's like no clarity. There was no, to my knowledge, no article put out on this. There was no product, feature release thing that I saw. Maybe I need to look harder, but it's just like that should have accompanied this. This is
so you can only hate on AI slop, right? You can't hate on just bad content, which is to me is like, there's other types of content that I don't want to report, but I want to be like, this is trash. Why is this on LinkedIn? Like who am I to be the governor of that? But I'm saying like, you're only siphoning out AI stuff as slop and not like these stupid little Instagram videos that have made their way onto here where it's like, like the videos of the guys in like the jungle building like the pools and stuff and like hyperlapse. It's like, why is that on here with your message? Like, I understand that's just like a clickbait tactic. Like I understand I'm gonna watch it because like that's the psychology of it, but like that doesn't provide any value. We're all just trying to game the system. So to me it's just dumb and it's just stupid. So and there's nowhere to complain about it. And we're gonna complain about it here. So
This is the best place to complain about it.
Because they're like elitist LinkedIn creators. It's like, no, we're just putting a lot of time and effort on this thing to watch it go to trash. Yeah.
I think that's the other thing, right? Is like we both put a lot of time into the platform, and there should be rewards for that. Meaning, like I genuinely think, right? Like it feels like we've moved away from social media in the organic sense. Now we've completely overextended on algorithms and testing and experimenting with different things and putting a bunch of like putting you down like a path versus just like, can I get the original Facebook timeline where I'm just seeing people that I followed purposefully content in a linear fashion, right? And I'm not like seeing stuff from like 3 weeks ago and like just real-time stuff from the people that I want to see it from. And we have no control over that. And that shift away from that part of social media has been like the biggest turnoff for me about it in general, is just that itself. And then I think the other problem is because we've grown audiences too, you would expect the reach to reach
like
more
access
of your followers.
to them.
But there is no benefit really now, because somebody could start tomorrow and they're going to get just about the same amount of reach as you are, if not more. And it seems so in that sense, it's almost like, damn, we came at a time where we had to like build and build and build. And, we did get the benefits for a little while, but now it's like, if you're just starting, shit, now's a great time to start, I guess. You're not getting this broad push from an impression standpoint, but there's nothing that's stopping you from getting the same, if not better engagement than me or you, And so I don't know. It's really weird, but
I saw a unique growth hack strategy that I loved from Gary Vee the other day, because I don't follow Gary Vee, but like when his clips come up, I listen because the guy is typically
he's usually right. Yeah,
he's always thinking about gaming the system and stuff. So I'm like, all right, whenever it is. But he was saying that he does. This is an interesting one, because of that new sort of user benefit that they give on like TikTok and Instagram. Basically, what your first post is doing is like seeding it out to the algorithm to see if your account's going to be interesting moving forward, basically. So you get a lot more reach. So what he's doing is taking like previously viral videos that he's created, and now all he's doing is taking that and then mass creating new accounts, viral videos on the new accounts, and whichever one just takes off, He just keeps running that one, and then the other ones just scrap them and delete them. So it's just like he's like, I've gained 4 million followers on this one account to my 50 million on my regular account with one post, and I'm like, interesting. Can't do that on LinkedIn.
It's just a shame you have to go.
Yes,
you have to do that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that doesn't feel like the way that things are supposed to be.
But this is the game that everyone's going to play now, right? Because he's now saying that, and then you're going to start to see this everywhere. Everyone's going to have 100 accounts because the bots can run it, and then it's just going to be like the same sort of situation that we're in now.
Eventually, how many years down the line, hopefully, we get back to a place where they just be like, "Oh, we just like way overthought this, and we're just gonna let you see everybody that you follow."
Like X.
Cool, we figured it out. You know, it's like dude,
granted, X did that though. X did that. And I started seeing people in my feeds again. And it was like, this is cool. Like, I'm still getting, like, I feel like that's been the best balance of anything so far. Instagram actually hasn't been that bad at it as of recent. But, like, seeing your friends, people that you follow, and then also, like, other stuff baked in. And I'm like, this is a nice balance. Like, I don't hate this. Like I was maybe, like, 4 months ago. And I'm like, I haven't seen anyone's stuff that I follow.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even see your stuff. And I'm like, you're like the only person I interact with like every day on X, so it's weird, right? But they need to do something about it. Even like the naming of that tool seems like AI slop. It's like either go all in or don't go all in, right? Like seems like it. It's like no, this is AI slop or this is not AI slop, right? Don't pussyfoot around.
The only way this would be genius, and I don't give LinkedIn this much credit, would be if this were just there as a placebo effect.
Probably.
To make you feel good that you are tagging things. And then they're not doing anything reactively with it. They're just ingesting and getting, they're running basically an experiment that doesn't punish anybody, but they're just seeing how people act. That would be the genius move. But I don't think.
That's that 40 chess right there.
That smart. I don't think they're that smart, but.
That seems like they haven't done anything. All they've done is not update the platform in any way, shape, or form to make it better for content creation. Multimedia
Still the same
uploading.
UIs for like 2 decades now.
Can we get a video and a picture in one post? Like, is it that hard? Every other platform on earth can do it. I can vibe code a platform right now that could do it. I don't understand.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. What was the other thing we were talking about before? Like before we hopped on, is just like. These bigger companies now, maybe the biggest problem is just like you might have an idea and then to execute on that idea and do it. Like we were using just the example of like an MCP. It's like you probably have been thinking about doing this and planning to do it and putting that project together for months. And then you finally get to completion. It's like you could literally hire somebody to do this the same week, right? Like maybe even the day of. These enterprises have to move faster. Like they have to. It's like anybody could, like I could create a Chrome extension for any platform I wanted to right now in a day. And why can't that expedite a process? Sure, you could like still QA it and like go through stuff, but it's like from an MVP perspective, day of, what are we doing?
Yeah. Anyway, LinkedIn, if you're listening, if you want to hear some user feedback, got a lot for you. Ton.
God. Okay. All right. Let's. We're gonna peel back. That Shift. A little bit. What else, Ray? I mean, Seedance 2.5. I think you were saying just dropped too. I did see that. I wasn't sure. Is that it? Did that officially drop today? I was pulling something up on that. Because somebody tweeted about it earlier this week, but maybe that was just like maybe there was like a beta group or something. Let me pull this up here.
Let's confirm.
Okay, that's Dreamina. Let's go straight to the source. Can we find? Okay,
it does say it's live on Dreamina and Byte Plus, so I'm guessing it's live for everyone. 14 days of unlimited Seedance on Higgsfield. What a surprise!
You don't say. Yeah, so I guess official as of today / yesterday. 2.5, and I think what's the thing with that? I think it's it's native 30-second gens.
30 seconds.
What it's all about here?
It can support up to 50 references, which is sick. That's insane. Crazy.
That's insane.
I was like, what do I even use for 50 references? Like I have to start thinking around like And like Finn said, I want to go read the documentation and actually see what it can handle, what it can't handle, and then where we can push it. Because it's, if anyone hasn't used Seedance 2 in like a more meaningful way, it's very impressive when you start to get into it and what you could use as references and how you can use those references. It's like, to me, that's the main part of it. That's like the nano banana situation. We had, it was like, oh, I can give it a couple different things totally unconnected and it can sort of tie it together without this crazy level of detail and instruction. But that being said, you're going to get a lot of slop.
Yeah, but it's crazy now because like we've typically seen a jump, a leader change each time, like one of these newer models comes out. But Seedance was already at the top, and now you've got a built on top of that. It doesn't sound like me and you have gone really deep in that yet, obviously, with this just being launched. But it'd be interesting to see like how bigger that delta got, and then I think about this from inside a company perspective. If you're going to use this, like assuming you're like, I don't know, an enterprise, which I know this is, video is still sort of like at the infancy stage of getting integrated and where and how and why we're going to use it. But they're not going to use the Chinese models. So they would be waiting for the O4. And I was just thinking about that. I'm like, I haven't heard nothing about that, but I would expect something here going back to our idea and strategy of like quarters, like thinking in quarters the way big enterprise companies think, that this would be sort of like a Q3 thing here, September, like August, September, which would be what I would think. And so I don't know, I'm curious to play around with this for sure, but I think about this from like an adoption standpoint. I mean, you're still going to need somebody on the American side, probably Google, I guess, at this point, really, to have a frontier model to get integrated with.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to what Kling's doing next because they've been quiet for a couple months since 3. So I think like they're probably coming up next, and it'll probably be really good. Just like my old reliable, like I can never sort of get away from Kling. I still love it. Even if Seedance can do a lot of great things, Kling's still just like simplicity and like do what you say and it listens. Seedance.
Plus, I feel like you spent more time equity there. So there's also something to be said of like a place where you feel familiar. So it's like if two things were almost equally the same, you're going to pick the one that you feel more comfortable and in depth with anyway. At the same time,
sort of have a kind of have like a, I want to say like an affinity for Kling. It's just been like they've also, Seedance has also been very nice. Kling has treated me very well, like with, reach outs, and they've sent me stuff and they're always communicative and they don't ever feel pushy. They don't ever feel like this is like some sort of one way agreement where it's like, if I do this, then, they'll, I'm like on the hook to them. Do you know what I mean? Like some of these companies we've partnered with, it certainly feels like that.
Transaction. It's you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back.
Yeah, like Weavy, not a transactional not a transactional relationship. Exceptional team. I feel like I'm part of the family over there, right? Like they do it the right way. Like it's a relationship business, right? Like it's not just like, I feel like Higgsfield's super transactional, like where it's like, again, there's a few others. I feel like Luma's creative CPP got some real heat for a while there
when they redid that.
Crazy. Yeah. Runway's always been super generous too. I should mention them as well. Like they're really great with their creative partner program, and so is Flora. There's a few real good partner programs out there that treat people like, obviously we're doing a lot of marketing for them, and they act like we're part of the team, which is great because kind of we are.
Yeah. You gotta have good people in those seats internally to run those the right way. It can definitely feel transactional. You're right. There are a lot more people or entities or brands for that matter that feel more transactional than truly relationship.
Yeah. So this one's interesting. I think we'll probably have more on this probably next week, right? Or something like that when we get a little bit more into testing. I personally haven't been able to go like really far on it other than rerunning a couple generations, which haven't really noticed the difference, to be honest, other than 30 seconds, but I haven't really pushed it to 50 references to see where that goes. But
there was a very quick maybe we switched to Midjourney very quickly. They did have an office hours Wednesday, but it was like one of those real short 10-15 minute David hops on, hops off, like busy, heads down. They just did the acquisition last week, which we talked about with CoStar. That was their first acquisition. I just basically broke this down to do a few notes that we just should probably keep in mind. So V8.2, that's now live. That is not, you don't need the preview tag anymore. You just V8.2. I actually haven't run it a lot since that has not preview, but I want to run more to really differentiate the difference in the final model that they released versus that preview one, because I do, from what I've read and heard, it's slightly different. And then they just talked about V9 already in training, and they talked about edit models, getting ready to be tested. So this is from the week before notes. One other reminder is they're talking about, they're doing the UI stuff. Don't forget about alpha.midjourney.com, because that's where they use the testing ground for the things that they're going to push to the live site. So this may be a good reminder there to keep an eye out for when they do the redesign, or maybe you're curious about that. And then just mobile. Yeah. And then just mentioned that they're going to do a survey around the medical spa. That was it. That was all I had to mention there.
Still been jamming on it, pushing buttons, and it feels good again. It feels really good again, and I'm liking what I'm getting. I'm having a lot of fun back on Midjourney, and it feels like I don't have to run like an agent system to just create. It's good. I don't know if have you been doing anything like.
I don't think I've really created
outrageous
much lately. Thought these were cool. I was running these things again.
It's like, again, I forget that I used to do this and go all the way back. I signed on to Minimax a few days ago because they released what's it called? They're Minimax 3 they released, and
H3 I think they were saying, or something H3. Like that.
And Omni reference, again, for anyone who's looking, I've only tested a few things on that, but I went back and saw some of the stuff that I had done previously, and then I was like, oh, these are all like Midjourney 6 images. And I was like, I went back and found some of the older gems that I used to do on Minimax with, like, Pikachu and Batman doing drugs and stuff like that. And I was like,
those are good.
The slop, that was like pre-slop. That was like the pre-Sora. It was like fun, stupid, and Minimax could do some great stuff. But regardless, go back to your Midjourney V6, images. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and the prompts. But that looks interesting. It looks like oil painting mixed with realism.
Yeah, so there's sort of like this encaustic wax portraiture.
Say that again?
I was encaustic wax.
You spit that one right out. Didn't need a.
Yeah. Because I knew what you were talking about. It does. It's got like this waxy bee wax sort of look on top of it. It's like a treatment. I was reading about it, but it's like basically like a finish on something.
Huh. I like that.
And
one.
it's kind of neat. It has sort of like these pops of highlights because it's the wax, and then it's also got like this little texture that shows up. I think these are all those.
And it's got makes the lighting like reflect off it pretty cool. Like, so this is again mentioned from Finn's podcast, from the show with Finn last week. I feel like texture is like the biggest differentiator, like in prompting. When you can type in a caustic wax, it obviously has a big influence on the image, right?
Yeah,
that makes it, just like he was talking about prompting with the fabric interactions and things like that. I think that's huge, and I think that's one of the tips that I took back, because I'm a texture junkie. It's like, I'm going to research a little bit more of these that I can sort of play
fun.
with. Yeah.
I was also trying to like find. I think I found encaustic waxing because I was also trying to find styles that I have not seen or heard of before. Like I was trying to like where's sort of like the white space or blue ocean of these styles that we just haven't seen yet, and I just kind of started throwing some things around. There were a couple different ones I was doing. This is a few weeks back now. I think this was another one. This Kirlian style electrophotography.
Huh.
I thought was super cool.
Oh, I like that.
Like these are dope.
Dude, make a mood board out of that.
Yeah, these are fun.
Or send me that prompt and I'll make a mood board out of it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, I'll send it to you. Thermal imaging, is cool.
I
Like
like
this
that.
one, like
Yeah,
these feel like Rory Flynn colors right here.
they do.
Um,
That's me.
let me see what else. Did I have some other ones in here
If you
mixed?
couldn't tell from our 90s basketball uniform discussion where a lot of my color preferences come from, you'll see it there.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Rewind back, 30 minutes. But
Homestead,
Homestead, that's right. Don't use my
Homesteader.
personalization code. It's bad. This is so interesting. Like,
I'm trying to think if
again,
I have any others here.
good textures. I see a lot of fabric play. I don't know if you're doing that on purpose, but oh, these look like me too. Maximalism.
These were fun.
Yeah.
This was exploded view object portraiture.
Oh, I like
So
that.
so like shit. Like I was like, I don't even know what that is. Let's run it. Just again, like getting into that maybe latent space that you hadn't seen. What is this? Microfiche, forensic evidence framing. Well, those look like more like stills, but that one's cool. Cool. You can kind of see where that direction could go. This was cool. Like I haven't seen a lot of these pattern drawings, but I love those. Like these could be really good if you're wanting really good text, right? And like I would love to try this in Nano or GPT. The pattern drawing stuff is always super cool to me because it's got like these really micro text pieces, and it's also got like the handwritten fonts for like the figures and the call outs, like very, and then it's dope.
What I've been liking a lot is this one token that works really well with 8.2. Is I've been using it for layered depth on text, so it doesn't look like it's been like graphic designed and like placed on a 2D sort of flat surface, where it's integrated into where it feels like it's in like the midground or it's slightly angled, so it has like dimension and depth to it, like it's part of the scene, like floating in the scene. That one to me has been more like I love that it can do that because it's a hard effect to achieve. Otherwise it's a lot of doctoring in the design.
LiDAR.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I like the LiDAR.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that one could be another cool one to play with. I'm just seeing if I have anything else in here. I ran a bunch of these newspaper halftone realism. I thought was kind of cool. A couple of these turned out well. What else? CRT phosphor burn.
Like
these are more textural, Photocopier art. Do I have anything else?
What else you got? I've been finding that there's some really like candidly the mood boards to me. I feel like they always take a little bit of time with these new models to sort of settle in for whatever reason. And I don't know if they do that on if that's the way it is. I feel like some of them have a little bit more. You ever notice that your mood boards have a little bit more power than other ones? Like some just like totally take over an image.
Do you like? Remember? I mean, we went really deep in mood boards a while back.
Yeah,
they've said they may have changes, but I don't really have. I don't feel like I've noticed the changes so much. So like, I think you're right. Like there are some, and I'm wondering if that's just a matter of how many images you're putting in, right? Like I don't know. Remember when we did some really good ones with these when we did our mood board collection.
correct. That was so. There's one or two that have like a really strong. Like if I put them in any image, it just totally dominates. Even if I have like 8 mood boards attached, which is the only way I do things now.
I could mash these more probably. I really haven't played with those in a while, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm curious. Just wake me up when the edit model's here. Pretty much.
Still, it feels like it's having its swing back. I feel a lot more momentum back on the Midjourney side. I think people are like we've said a few times. I think people are just kind of getting
quality's good.
Yeah, just a little bit too comfortable with Nano and Chat GPT, and it's like it's not like stimulating enough.
No,
it's like what it can do, what you have to use it for.
It's not editorial
like
enough.
Throwing you a wild card. It's not throwing you a wild card every once in a while, like the models used to, which I think is the biggest part. We've said this 100,000 times. But
how do you balance the creativity with the coherence? I think that's where these other models aren't even thinking about that. I mean, not yet. So,
what I have been seeing a lot of though is like I've been seeing. We probably mentioned. I think we said this on the podcast with Salma, like the 3D moment for AI, and it feels like it's really taken off now. Feels like GPT 5.6 and then Fable sort of jump started that, and I'm seeing a lot more of it. I'm seeing a lot of 3D integration. A lot of people either doing these depth maps for existing video and using them as references, or building like CAD models in 3JS, or doing all this other fun stuff with 3D. I think we're probably gonna see a lot of cool
Yeah,
stuff with that.
I think
now.
you're right. That's
Yeah.
a really good call. Like that's another one of those like big waves that we haven't
Hmm.
really that hasn't reached the shore yet. Like that's one of those monster ones that is. Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I wonder when that happens. I mean, it doesn't feel like we're far off.
No, it's been pretty. I think anyone who has any experience in 3D, if you're able to sort of direct and control what you can do with in a 3D tool, you can easily tell a LLM to do it.
Yeah,
Because a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
the a lot of them, a lot of the 3D softwares, they ingest code, and if Claude or GPT can write code, they can do stuff. It's just I think having, again, subject matter expertise there, knowing exactly how to describe what you want, what changes to make, it's not as easy. I mean, having the 3JS sort of rendering within Claude and GPT, and them just doing it like live in your in your chat is insane. But also the Blender MCP, and yeah, I think Cinema 4D has one, and a few other tools
Yeah.
have
No,
one.
you're right though.
But
I like, and I would say my experience with this, like on the photography side, is this has a really big short tail effect for those. Like if anybody 3D is listening to this, the earlier you get on that wave, the more value you're going to get out of that, especially short tail, because people aren't going to know the things that you know yet. They're not going to know the best way to communicate, to prompt it, to engineer it, to think about it, right? The more examples and people that start to talk about it, eventually that moat sort of dries up a little bit. But there is still long tail too, right? Like so I'm the example I'm giving there is relative to photography in my sense of when I first started using Midjourney, I instantly was thinking about camera angles and the camera, maybe putting the camera in the prompt or the lens in the prompt, or the type of color that was either color grading, or maybe it's got sort of an effect of film, film grain or noise or shutter speed or direct, like all of those things that were SME things that I experienced on the photography side. Now a lot of that now is common knowledge, right? But there still are long tail benefits of having that experience, right? Like you're still thinking about it from a photography standpoint. Like I instantly just go and I think about like even photographers now, like we've talked about this before, but it's that net effect of like, what if I were to go out with a camera today and I was doing a shoot, and let's just say it was a high stakes shoot or I was getting paid for it. I've got real information captured in the camera. What if I didn't get the camera angle that I wanted, or what if something about the lighting is just a little bit off? I can now use AI to offset those things. This is now a part of the workflow. It doesn't have to be this, oh, I'm just going to create AI images instead of photography. No, it's like what are the pieces, the levers that I'm going to turn that use AI and infuse that into my process, integrate it in. And so I think like if you're 3D, like we saw the photography, we saw the film stuff. Now, like to your point, like 3D, my biggest advice if anybody's 3D is just like figure out what those short tail things are, do it early, then figure out the long tail things, because there is a lot of value that you can provide as an SME.
it's to me, like, it's the ultimate control that everyone's been looking for, right? Like whenever anyone's like, I want this like extreme detailed level of control, like this is it. This is how you get it. And when these models get good enough, like they're building reality, right? Like that's the whole thing. Like some of this stuff with the CAD models and whatever they're able to do, and you can like interact with it. It's so crazy that you can build this. This one I thought was interesting. Someone used a gun reference. I hope we don't get dinged for that. I'll take it off the screen. But they built like a 3D model of a WEAPON.
There you go. Look at you,
screen,
man.
screen us for that.
You've
But
done this before.
I mean, that's also the other side of it, right? Like that's the dangerous side. Is that like that now, if you have a 3D printer, I know you can get this stuff online, guys. I've spent enough time on the dark side of the internet to know like what's possible. But it's just kind of insane that it can build this stuff now, because I've been sort of following this, like this. Some of this stuff is crazy, right? Like that it can sort of dev and sculpt these characters and then rig them, that they can actually move this fluid, and Blender is really solid when you know what you're doing. It's super complex, but I've just seen some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, it's once you get in there, you start to realize like how complex it is, and you realize why the 3D artists sort of hated us in the beginning. Because I'm like, yeah, anyone who can do this is like super intense and meticulous and smart and really talented to get to this level of, that we're posting stuff. And I'm like, I see where the hatred comes from.
Yeah.
But I feel like now they have some stuff. Now you guys
and
have
to
a lot
your
of stuff
point,
to use.
it probably feels like one of those creative crafts too, that it just takes so long to master, and there's a long journey there. And, to take away from that journey or to experience somebody maybe that shortcutting that journey doesn't probably feel so good either. Right. Like, you feel maybe a little bit of insecurity when that happens at the same time.
Totally. I would feel the same way, right? Like I felt, and that's because it's such a meticulous process. You go in there and realize all the things you can do, and then like, it's like, oh, then there's the nodes, and then there's the sculpting, and then there's the materials, and then there's the lighting, and then there's the staging. And it's like, okay, there's like, you're building fake reality in there, which is, it has to be precise most of the time. And that's what they're doing. But I think I just think it's like finally sort of the moment for 3D. And I'm trying to find some of the other examples I pulled here. But people are building, image to 3D. They're building sort of text to 3D.
I like that example too that you had, because I also had it bookmarked. I think Javi posted it, but it was that car, and it's like Gaussian splat where you can click it and almost basically like,
move it
manipulate
around.
the car, movement. And
where is it here?
I think it's go up maybe a little bit more. But that was super neat. I was like, there you go.
And that's what, and like the interaction of everything that's happening around it too, not just moving the car, like all this other stuff gets whacked.
Yes. Yes.
Which is, I don't know if you saw this. Sorry to take us off track here, but I don't know if you saw this SpaceX video the other day of this thing. So this is real footage.
No way. I don't buy that.
Are you getting the audio on that, by the way?
A little bit, very faint.
Let me cut it out because it's loud. So first thing, I'm looking like
Rory,
now you scrutinize everything,
right? That cannot be real. That cannot be.
I don't know if it is or not, but this is what I'm saying. It's like now we're at this point where I have to scrutinize everything because we know what's possible, right? Like, there's a few things here that look suspect to me. Like I see these, first off, the color of this seems way too good for this. I mean, it seems like it's either retouched, maybe it is retouched. But like the steam right here coming out and the smoke, like the boosters, like that feels a little weird, even though the physics could be right. The flame being, I guess the flame is that this is what I don't get is like, why is the camera on top of the drone? Like, why are we getting the wings? Normally camera's on bottom of the drone, like dangling. So that's weird, right? And then we're watching it, and like I don't feel like the physics of the water makes sense of when it hits. And I could be totally wrong. We could be totally overanalyzing this, right? But this is like the world that we live in now, right?
Play it regular speed one more time.
So it kind of looks like it's shot in 60 frame, 60 FPS. Like I don't know if the water here, maybe like the more I look at it, like, I don't know. Then like when it hits here, that looks good. I'm so conflicted.
I think I have a problem with the first half of it the most.
Flames look a little bit.
Go back to the beginning one more time. This is fun. This is kind of a fun game. I feel like it turns up right way too fast there. Like that first 5 seconds, like how fast it shifts upright feels very quick to me.
Right? But also just like look at the coloration of it and like the details.
And then like you said, just those little just like evaporates too quick.
Hold on, did I just see? Where is it? Is there missing shadows here? We have the lights coming from this direction. Look at us trying to play like forensic analysis.
I know,
here.
Right?
And then, okay, so the sun is coming from this direction. Where if it was rendered in a 3D engine, you would be able to see it. So you get the shadow right there. Huh? It's like here. This looks fake to me. Like this angle right here. It doesn't look. It looks like it's simulated. I don't know.
Yes,
this is why I'm starting to get nervous.
Yes,
it's probably totally real. You know what I mean? And now we're sitting here like, is this our new reality of like trying to decipher everything?
Here you go. This is a nice little segue, but there was a news release I think last week, but NVIDIA introduced a real-time synthetic video detection.
Okay.
So it evaluates video frame by frame, reports 92% accuracy on uncompressed video, with performance declining as compression increases, and processing fast enough for some live stream applications. Why should you care? Well, detection is moving closer to infrastructure rather than after the fact moderation. So I think that's an interesting point there.
What is the name of the product? I'm just trying to see if we can find a video.
Here, let me see if I can pull. Let me pull this up real quick. I got the article up here.
Let me stop sharing. Am I even sharing? No.
I think I just took it. Okay,
Nice.
so this is just saying it advances graphic simulation with agentic physical AI, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they got a whole keynote in here. Let's see if there's like a section specifically toward that or not.
Because this is going to become more popular. You know, we're going to question everything. I already do question everything.
Yeah, here it is.
Helps newsrooms detect synthetic video. Good.
Uh-huh.
Because it's getting too good now.
So NVIDIA's doing something there. And again, if they are doing something there, and I thought sort of what we pointed out in terms of like what that is here, sounds like it's already decent. So it's only going to get better. I mean, but we need it. I mean, more timely than ever right now. So this is going to be a key part. But the point too is like this piece was interesting. Detection moving closer to infrastructure rather than after the fact moderation.
Huh. How does that work?
I don't know. I think this has got to be integrated into
platforms.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
how are you going to moderate that? It's just like, these guys, again, like it'll be the first one to do it, and then they'll have no content anymore. Then they'll have to open it up. It's like, if LinkedIn didn't have AI, if there was no AI, LinkedIn would have like probably 90% less posts. I mean, that's what it was like when we were on there, right? And it's
the hardest part I think is like, if I were to, it's like knowing what you're going to talk about, and then when we were creating posts, even when you're thinking about like, even if you're not doing a carousel, I mean, I used to spend like an hour or two on a post, just
easy
writing out the idea first, doing like a pass of like, I don't care how it sounds. I just want to get all my ideas down. Then like, let me move around, revise, edit, blah, blah, blah. Let me find a good hook, right? Like all those things. And then post.
I still do it that way.
Yeah. But I mean,
I still
like
write it. Yeah.
With the AI thing, right? Like people are able to shortcut that. They don't need the idea. A lot of the ideas are already fed. They don't have they don't have to be great writers because they're mostly just taking what it comes up with, and logically it flows. But the AI patterns and verbiage and all those things are there. So
and there's a lot of engagement pods on there, and it's not even just engagement pods. It's like companies that are running like the full pod that just like create all your content for you, but it's all just content that they've used for everyone else, just retailored to you, and then you get in a group, and then whatever all their other clients are, it's like they all just sort of like cross-pollinate with each other, and like that's how
I hate those. It's so disgusting, bro. I mean, it's just like, okay, you're in this pod, and then we'll like your post, but then you got to like the last 10 and leave a comment.
But they do it for you.
Gross.
So they do it for the people who are also writing your posts are also doing that for you, right? So it's like they're doing everything, and it's
come on.
It's
filthy.
LinkedIn's a dirty beast now. And I feel, like I said, I feel bad. Like I want to, like when people are like, I couldn't believe this is AI, this UGC video I created. I'm like, I can write 10 instances in the first 5 seconds where it's AI, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that police. I don't want to be the policeman of your content. Right, like I hate when people do that. You shouldn't do this with your content. Like, go do your own thing then. Like I don't give a shit. I don't care what you think. Like you're not this. I'm not you. Which is why some of these people, I'm just like I see it. I'm just like let them have their fun. Let them bury themselves with this stuff because it's just you don't want to become like the elitist people that we were trying to.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. And I feel like
right?
I've kind of become a little grumpy in some ways because I'm like, don't do that. Or like, this isn't the full way to be thinking about this, or just kind of like you said, just like policing. It's like, yeah.
Because I feel like I used to just cheer every single person who was doing stuff with AI and trying, right? and I liked it because people were open and honest about how they were trying it, what they were, you know, what they were seeing, like it wasn't good or like whatever. I didn't like this. Now it's just like it's the best thing ever. I 50x my, you know, my gains with, you know, just all the standard talking points and just acting like they've done
and,
this for 10 years. It's been around for 3.
and I think like we've spent so much time with this too that we know it. Like in some cases, this is all hyperbole. I mean, can you do this quickly? Yes. Could it have taken you 5 minutes? No, it's not. It's never as easy as you're making it sound. And also, by you making it sound super easy, you're devaluing the end result. Like, I mean, that part. I think that part is only good when it's a new capability or new technology. And so like we had that moment with images and video, and it's like, oh man, look what we can, you know, like do, and this only takes 5 minutes. And I think like that there is some value in communicating that, but if that's your strategy of just all about speed and you're just gonna like that, really long term devalues this whole thing. Like there are just so many different elements into it. We've talked about it last week with Finn, which is like there are, and the week before, and with Salma, and we're just like, there are going to be parts of this where we actually want to take back in control now. It's not even about the speed anymore. We want to take the speed where we want to give it speed. We want to, you know, there are going to be times where things are going to take longer, but we want to do that intentionally, you know, and then you got like the taste factor and you got the distribution. Like these are just things that like, it's not just about the speed.
I've been thinking about this more often, right? There's something to be said about what position we sit in and like how much exposure we have to this. Because if I'm a lunch lady, right, and I see this stuff about AI on the news and it says this is going to take your jobs and we're going to build robots and you're not going to be a lunch lady anymore, right? Like, and then you go on social media and all you see is just crap. It's just like, you know, it's just all this stuff that's just like, I use this, I built this in 5 minutes, this is the best thing ever. But like no one actually has exposure to like the depth and like infrastructure that can be built, like we've seen, you know, like being inside of companies and seeing how they're deployed and the really smart people that work on it in different ways than us. And like when you can take months long processes that are intricate and have checks and balances and have like really quality like assurance built into it, when you see that, you think about it differently than when you just see what's on social media, right? Because it's like,
yes.
And we're sitting here like trying to defend that while the person who's not necessarily in that is looking at, you know, Pikachu smoking weed on Instagram saying like, why are we wasting water on this? You know, it's
a great point.
I just feel like there's I know we always say we're in a bubble, but like really thinking about it, you haven't there's no exposure. Like, does the lunch lady outside of like, oh, we can automate your entire meal planning, recipe schedule, like inventory management, like if they saw that and they saw what they're able to do, like, you know, telling Claude yesterday that I need to find a very specific part that for something that broke on one of my, you know, consumer electronics, and I need to find it today because I need to use it today. I need to find somewhere that delivers. I need to find somewhere that delivers in my area. I need you to track. Go search a ton of websites, find the inventory, you know, make sure it's on DoorDash or whatever, and it can be delivered within 3 hours. You know, I came back and did all that, but like I don't think your average person knows that it has the capability to go do that, right? Like it doesn't have the capability to go hyper target.
Also, it's hard. It's hard to combat that as a useful way for AI. Like it's hard to argue that that's not value adding to your life, right? Because yes, it's about speed, but it's also there's nothing in that process that is slop, for lack of a better bucket here. And what I mean by that is like that taste or the judgment layer, or you brought up a really interesting point, which, and I think you'll hear this a lot more, which is this evals, like evaluation built in to whatever system you're building. And like you'll start to see that now. Like even with loops, you like hearing about loops, which, you know, is basically like a part of your system that evaluates and it keeps going until it hits a threshold, right? That's based on judgment and taste and, you know, a quality assurance, right? And that prevents slop, assuming that you're evaluating for the right things, right? So it's like moving upstream, like thinking about things like that will be a bigger part, especially when there is these big differences, these deltas between just mediocre, which is where a lot of people operate, versus like great outputs, which has to do with the SMEs, which has to do with context, which has to do with, right, like getting directly to the source. And so I think like that's really interesting. Like speed only matters in those circumstances, assuming you've got the right evals and context and things built into that, right? Like a perfect example of that. Like before this, we were just talking about like content, right? If people want to create content at scale, they can, right? They can get the slop, they can get topics that they're interested in. But like if you really want to refine that process, you need to find
Deeper.
the right, yeah, you got to go deeper. You got to find the right topic. So how might you do that? So one of the ways I do that is I have calls recorded with clients or prospects. And now I've got that transcript, and now I've got the context. It can pull ideas, content seeds is what I call them, out of those things of things I could talk about. And that's coming from a first person point of view. So my point of view is now out of the mediocre box. It's now in a very specific, unique box to me, right? Because I can talk about this client, this problem that they had. Here's what we talked about. Here's how we solved it. And so like it's like that sort of thing. And then also another example of that, Rory, is like the other thing I was showing you, which is like this idea of like, we'll take this transcript. We got to post this on YouTube. What if it pulls all the context out of this transcript and that gives me content for us to post on LinkedIn or X or whatever? Those are coming straight from the source, right? Like that's that true source of information where we're eliminating a lot of that mediocre common content, and it strictly comes from our words of mouth. We're subject matter experts, boom, right? So speed only matters if you've solved for those things, I guess my point, and you've got an evaluation threshold that you've established.
Well, it's so deep now. Like, number one, from a competitive standpoint, I feel like you have to go a little bit further, right? When everyone had a custom GPT, it's like, well, how do I string 3 custom GPTs together? When everyone has one Claude skill that does this, how do I build a whole pipeline? When everyone has a pipeline, how do I have agents, right? Like you just keep sort of going to make it further and deeper and bigger, and you start to understand like how intense our brains actually are when we think about this stuff, and realize how much goes into writing a post and what context is needed versus what experience is needed versus context of what's worked before in the past versus what's never worked, what it's never seen before. So there's like this whole, the eval process is probably what's going on in your brain, right? It needs context too to understand what happened prior and why that's good. So there's, it's not easy. That's why everyone is selling or shilling some content system, right? It's like, oh, I can write your LinkedIn posts or I can write your X posts and it'll be good. It's like, no, it's not good because you're doing very baseline stuff. You're not doing anything that would make this remotely interesting for anyone. Yeah. It's nothing popping out of there is out of the distribution. We'll call back to
it's got to be more of an engine, right? Like going back to like if you were to, because I am working on something like that, but if I were to actually productize it, it would have to be it would have to.
You're deeper.
It would have to really leverage the unique aspect of whoever it's serving for, right? Mm-hmm. Because it needs to be built off those things in order to truly write in your voice from your point of view. And even then, it's not going to give you 100%, right? So like we can go down this whole path of agents and loops and graphs and the evals and like wherever it's going next. But what I'm starting to figure out now is there are just some pieces, like as much as we just want to have like this full circle closed loop that is perfectly automated, there's always like a few little things that's just like, I don't think I can solve for that. Like I need to be a part of this and that, even if I don't want to be, even if I want to make that choice. So like, I'm just finding there are still breadcrumbs out there that are variables that can't be automated.
And people try to automate opinions, right? Like they're trying to automate their opinions where they're having AI write this, and whether they believe it or not, it's weird to me that you're giving away that much power to it, where it's like, here's this content that I'm going to write, and really it's just I don't know the best way to explain this. I probably need better vocabulary, but it's like it's like, oh, I'm going to write about this topic, like this is a topic that's interesting, go write this post, right? And it writes the post, but it's really surface level because there's actually no. It's just it's optimized for writing, not for thinking. If that may, I don't know if I'm saying this the right. Do you get what I'm saying?
I know where you're going with it. I love
like
that. Keep going. Keep going.
Structured, formulaic writing, prose. Like it's not thinking of like how do I inject emotion or like a curveball in here, or like it's just following the rules that you've provided for it. It's not abbreviating words on purpose to like chop up a sentence or to make your eye go somewhere, like unless you tell it to. But I think I'm not fully explaining this one the way that I mean it. I'm just saying like it's coming up with an idea and it's just writing because that's the way it writes, not because it has a feeling on it or an opinion on it. That you know, it's so hard. I gotta flush this one out, guys. I gotta flush this.
No, dude, I know where
out.
you're going with it. I would like for you to go deeper though. I like that. I like that process. I like that angle of the way that you're thinking about it. I think that's the line for me is like formatting the output for thinking, not just the writing.
Correct.
And I've just run this experiment with like this particular system so many times where that is so true to me. Like I've seen that. So it ultimately comes down to, and that's why the unique aspect is so important, because if you've talked about a problem that you've solved, it knows how you thought about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you've probably talked out that process.
Correct.
Which kind of gets you closer to what you're saying, which is format it for the thinking versus just the writing. And that's when, like, I just think this writing thing is like probably one of the toughest things to crack here, because you are not like, you have to think yes, you have to think about the writing, but yes, you have to think about the thinking, right? So you have to set up these rules of here's how I write. You got to give it examples. Here are the, like, I have a whole kill list of AI LLM writing patterns that I weigh it against, right? So that's an eval thing, like there's there's just many parts to this. Like here are verbal tics that I say, right? Like here are phrases I use. Here are words I never say. And here are the words I usually say instead of it. Like I'm not ever going to say however, but maybe I'll say but, right? Like, so, like those, like you've really got, like, it is this big problem, and, maybe one of these models will get there, but like the deeper I go, the more I realize there's just more and more things that you need to have really contextualized, for lack of a better term, in order for it to operate at the highest level. Like,
I think if I have to go back and look at this, maybe 20 episodes ago, we looked at that comedy writing pipeline that I had sort of just went nuts on with Opus 4.6 when I was like, oh, I can go crazy on this if I want to. And there was so many little things that I took out of that whole system that made the entire writing system better, which I don't really write that much anymore. But when I want to write something, it's good because I stripped it. I mean, I built the whole thing and I stripped it down into parts too, to like have them. Like, remember we talked about the analogy engine, right? Like that thing is great to inject in.
Yeah.
The consensus engine, which is finding like the polar opposite sides of both sides of the conversation, and then finding like a common middle ground where we can make fun of both. Like that was, to me, there was like an interesting thought pattern in that, or process in that, because my writing comes out
that's
less.
you thinking of those things. Like the idea is that the model would never suggest that particularly.
No, definitely not.
Like that would be something you would have had to note it, like an observation, and then you would have to contextualize it somewhere in order for it to then present that idea to, or know how to build on top of it.
Also, the writing, when people are saying like, we're going to write a post, like I think that it triggers that sort of mentality.
Does it categorize it? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's going to go there. And it's like, oh, I'm writing a LinkedIn post. I'm writing a social post.
Because of what's it trained off of?
Ad.
What's it trained off of, right?
So it's like you have to take it in different directions. Like I'm writing, an editorial opinion article or something like that. Or I'm writing, blah, blah, blah. Or I just want to have a social dialect simulation or social dialogue simulation. Like there's a lot of different ways you can probably trigger different words and context and emotion out of it, but we're only using like the surface level stuff because it's just so easy to do it. Write an email, write a social post. I want to build this whole content system for LinkedIn. And now it's doing is thinking LinkedIn. 100%. How do I write professionally? How do I do this? How do I, structure it within the character, content? No, it's not thinking about like what to actually say. It's thinking about how to actually say it. And that's where if you don't have the opinions, right? That's why everyone's stuff looks exactly the same now. It's just like reading the hot topics. Here, these are the hot topics that I'm seeing everyone post about. Write a LinkedIn post. And whatever skills they're using that are still pumping out the same thing as everyone else, right? So,
I think we're like, the reason we're talking about this is because this is when you get deep enough in here, some of you will know this, but it's just like you'll know exactly what we're talking about now. And you see what's going to happen here if you don't fix those things. And so like I would just say like these use cases aren't going to blow you away, but what I would suggest are like a couple of the best things you could do right now that don't take a lot of work is ingest your calls, right? So Granola,
Yes.
Fathom, whatever it is, have something set up for that. Scheduled task. It's going to pull those calls in every day, run it, right? Learns off of those. Now you've got, again, content ideas. You've got the way that you talk about things, topics, angles, right? That are relevant to you. These are going to compound over time, right? Day one, it's not going to be this mind-blowing thing, but a quarter or two from now, a year, like it knows all of these things about you, assuming you're good with that, right? Like that you can now have as leverage. So that's number one. Number two, do the same thing for emails, email ingest. Like that's another one I set up. So pulls my emails. Now this one I had to set up, like, I don't want it to pull all my emails. I want them to identify people that are prospects or clients, or there's a relationship opportunity there. And so I also have a system where it's like, I'm approving, hey, this person should be on this. No, this person is not, but it's actually done a really good job of kind of contextualizing what it thinks it should categorize. So now I'm just going, yes, no, yes, no. But like those two things alone, perfect for giving you, for just injecting mass amounts of context, personalizing this, giving you unique expertise, leveraging the SME stuff, right? Content seeds, blah, 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 blah. Those are like, do that. And then the only, like one other thing I would say, Rory, too, like these would be just like table stakes for me. Anybody listening to this would be just a prompt amplifier skill. So mine started as just like a skill. Now it's turned into like this whole graph where it's connecting to other skills to find the right context or the right thing to do based on that. But it's essentially, I am prompting like normal, assuming I've given it enough context. It's going to basically amplify that prompt and give it the best optimized, informed, specific, clear prompt it can for it to run it. And I can even just say dash review, and it'll show me exactly how it amplified it before I say go. That alleviates a lot of pressure from me and mental exhaustion of trying to think of every single thing. Because now I can just type the bare minimum in terms of context, and it usually comes up with things I'm not thinking about or I couldn't elaborate on. And boom, like shortcut process there that, again, like has insane value. And it's not like anything like crazy. Anybody can do this. Like,
I think maybe a fun episode, you guys can say otherwise in the comments, I think it's fun, is like the non-creative stuff that we use AI for, like that all this like supplemental admin stuff, which is really, once you do, like once I see what you do and I'm like, that's cool. Like, you know, it's different because it's not like, oh, I'm creating these videos or these images that are awesome. It's like, these are these little things that legitimately allow us to do what we do, is like this stuff. So like there's, you know, going back to before the first time I got on stage, right? Like 3 years ago, it was a lot of ops stuff. It wasn't just image. And it was the one thing was the sales calls, what you're talking about. Like we were making optimizations from sales calls with ChatGPT 3.5, because it was, we could dump all that data in there and then say like, you know, if I was taking 20 sales calls a week, which I was for the agency at the time, we were stripping out everything. So we'd strip out all the, here, make a list of all the questions, right? Like this is back in 3.5. I could do a million different things with this now, but make a list of all the questions, and then basically we'd run that list and we put it into a spreadsheet, and then we'd have it go and then optimize for like what the actual underlying real question was. You know, like is that a price objection? Is that a this? Is that a this? Is that, you know, timing, whatever. Or if it's just like a really good question. And I remember we built a lot of stuff with just the questions. Like we built whatever questions were asked the most, we built it into the sales script. So we were basically answering questions before they were asked. Then we'd start to build that into outbound marketing. Whatever we felt like was the most asked question, that would be forefront in the marketing. And it was like we were cheating at the time. Like people didn't know that.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
that we were
like,
cheating.
If you're pulling this off now, you're still cheating, because most of these companies don't have the stuff set up.
This is 2023, right? And it was like, there was that. And then we realized, oh, if we dumped in all the call data and the sentiment analysis stuff that we could get from Fireflies, it would tell us when people were starting to either bridge or lose interest. Like typical sales call process. Most people have been on a sales call here, I'm assuming, right? You go through the like the niceties, the discovery phase, and then like the pitch, right? So typically, I would notice that right before the pitch, you'd see the tonality change. Everything would get, like sort of slow down to a halt, right, from like an excitement standpoint. So I just decided one day, let's just flip the price. Like, let's go to the beginning. We'll do the niceties instead of like discovery of just asking a bunch of questions. Like, let's just do an audit here. Like, let's just audit an account. Just go in and find stuff. Totally unstructured. Let's see how they handle it. Right? And we're just talking about their problems, not like an interview where it feels like you're on the defensive already. And then right after I'd get that, I would just drop price right in the middle of the call. So it would be like, oh, you just heard everything that I saw. It's like you and I were vibing. Here's the price. And then I'd go like, yeah, totally. We can help you with that. 100% typically what we do price wise is this. Then I'd go into, all right, so this is how it works though when we actually work together. So like bury it right there and
Yep.
then go into here's who you'd work with. This is typically how we function. Like we talk twice a week. You're going to be here. Once you sign up, like this is how it goes. Like you get this on. Like, everything had been taken care of. I'm like, so at the end, I'm like, any questions? And they're like, no, like that's great. And it ends on, I told them exactly how we were going to like work together instead of here's my price, like make a decision right now, like on the
Yes.
spot. So
Yes.
it left like it just feels more comfortable at the end. You don't feel like you're like required to do something on both sides. And it was just like, I'll send you, I'll re-record the audit for you. I'll send it back over. You tell me what you think. You want to jump on the phone next week and talk about it? Up to you. If not, take this thing and leave it. Take it, the audit and have it. It's for you to use. And sales jumped insane because we were just taking this AI data and we were like optimizing it. So long story short, it's like you can get creative with what you see. You don't have to just, use AI at its word. It's like it would have never told me to drop price in the middle of the call. I was like, it's just getting here. Let's just see what happens if we drop price in the middle of the call. So there's a ton of stuff, and we've probably never done a sales section of this either.
Yeah, I think wasn't somebody asking about like more of like our business process anyway. Like they're just like, can you guys get into like maybe the business stuff or like maybe how, with prospects or clients or maybe, like CRM stuff, pipeline, like we could get into, I'm sure, I mean, me and you are both doing our own thing. So we've got things there. And so if that is appetizing, let us know. I mean, we're happy to kind of go into that route. And, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot.
Totally
dude, there's a lot here, man. I think at this point, your prompt shouldn't be starting at zero. There should be a context file at a bare minimum that you're working with almost always, right? Unless it's just like a simple like Google level query that is a one-time thing. There are still times we all use LLMs for that, but everything hypothetically should be compounding, meaning there's a context file at a bare minimum, and then you've got a system or agents or whatever it is. And I think the way that maybe like a quick way you're going to notice this is like your prompts should be getting probably shorter now, because you could call on a skill, you could call on an agent, right? Or it's already recognizing a process that exists. Or it's, like I could mention 3 skills like in a prompt, right? And I'm already saving probably 80% of what I would have had to type in order to get that. So I think like that's one easy way that you're starting to make some real progress there if you guys are starting to think about those things. And I don't know. I want to.
Did you have prompting instead?
We could go hard
Yeah.
on this. I just think like too, like one other thing to note, if you are getting started with that, like in the skill stuff, and we can really go deep on that, but it's just like also audit the skills that you're putting in there. There's a lot of bad skills that are probably out there. And even if they are good, always ask how you can improve them or make them even more relevant to you, right? Like benchmarking against what already exists, build on top of. Like I view all that as raw material that I can make even better. If I see a skill out there that I think I would use, I'm like, oh, this is good. Now I want to hyper tailor this to me, or I want to like even 5, 10x this. How could I do that? Ideate with me. I'm interested in these ideas. Let's build that, right? Like
most of the time the skills aren't built for you, right? Like there's someone else open sourced them, but it was for their specific task. And yeah, there's general ones, but that's what everyone else is using. You kind of can just take it and customize it and be like, I like this idea. Like, how else can we take this, based on knowledge of me or whatever. And this is very simplistic, by the way. Because most of the stuff I have now is just if I've done something once and it shows up on my radar again and I have to do it again, that I'm building a process. I'm just not doing the same thing twice ever again.
100%.
I should do
100%.
an evolution of the thumbnail process from what it started as to what it is now. Like where
Yeah. Yeah.
dude, it's taken on like 8 iterations of where it's gone to like trim it to trim it to trim it to trim it, and it's all still the same levels of control. I'm just operating it in a different way. Same process, basically the same exact process has been for 8 months. You know, base characters, environment, composition, editing, right? And it's just like it's new tools, new iterations, new ways to sort of figure out to build the skills around it, but it's that's one thing, right? Like I don't even think we realize probably how many things we have set up that help us day to day. There's no way I'd be able to do this 5 years ago. What I get done
Or,
now.
dude, I mean, like if you're in house somewhere and you're not doing this day to day, you just like I'm spending whole days sometimes, like even just this past week, I probably spent 2 or 3 days just auditing my entire ecosystem and like fixing leaks or breaks or optimizing or like it's like, dude, like that's not sexy at all, but like those are rabbit holes that also improve the health of your environment and give you better output. So it's like if you're busy and you're in house somewhere doing meetings and you got other projects going, like you just don't have the time to do this shit. You just don't.
Yeah, I think I think like if you are doing this stuff, like don't over engineer and go crazy. Like you're gonna, I'd say like scrap things as much as you build them. Because if you try
Yeah.
to keep operating and
Yeah.
consistently using this stuff when you don't use it, it's just like get rid of it because it's I've built a ton of stuff where I'm like, this is great for the immediate, but then there's certain things that I keep coming back to. Like I built a local social media video downloader that I can just drop a video into my little tool anytime I want to, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, whatever. So I can just download it because you don't want to use those sketchy sites online, right? Like that was something that I built on a whim. Like I don't want to use this sketchy site anymore. Can you build this?
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like yes, but I use it all the time. And then I was like, wait, well, where do I store this stuff? This is just going to be like randomly downloading my downloads. Then you start to build a little bit more. It's like, oh, it should go here. Then what should I do with it once it's there? But that's where I think there's a trap in that also.
There is also a trap. Yep.
There's a trap.
Yep.
Like I could just stop at that downloader and that's a little tool and that's all I need. But like I'm still kind of like, what else can I do?
You know what else I
can I
also
do?
think
That's
is
a
kind of
long time
challenging?
ago.
It's kind of challenging remembering all the things that you've created.
That's
Like
what I mean.
this these dashboards and the interfaces aren't really built yet to completely give you that visual of everything that you've created. Sure, you've got all the skills, but like you forget about them, and then they might get stale and they might not work as great anymore because you've changed other things, right? Like you're always quality checking, and I'm always asking to double check work because I mean and then you got to log. You want to log those lessons so they don't make
Yeah.
the same mistake again. Like dude, it's infinite. It makes you go crazy, but maybe we do a whole episode on that. Like
You'll like this one.
That would be nuts.
I now have built a pipeline to deconstruct all of my skills into individual skills to just bank them and archive them so that like if I'm saying like to the orchestrator, my little agent orchestrator that I utilize, I want to build this. I also then like just pop through, the archive over here. And I had to build like a catalog in the archive so if I build like this, this crazy pipeline and maybe there's like 6 steps to it, but there's probably like maybe 8 or 9 supporting skills in it. It'll strip those 8 or 9 supporting skills and isolate them so they can be used interchangeably in any other pipeline that I want. But then I had to, because it was taking too much, you learn this stuff. It's way too much token context when just reading through the whole thing. I had to, codify a system for it to read through and understand what's in there first so it can always pull from this stuff. Because that's like the stuff that's been approved. Like I only do that if it's approved. Like it works. It's worked 10 times. Works really quick and it's good. Then it goes into this little, like my little seed vault, like one of those things that the doomsday vaults that have
Where's that, in Norway or something like that?
It's just like keep it back there for for a rainy day when I need it. But you go crazy. Like we all realize how insane we are when you open up our skill files.
Literally
open your skill files. Let's see how crazy you are.
I feel like a psychopath right now. Yeah, I'm on the hunt, man. This is crazy.
It's true. Maybe we should do that episode. It'd probably be fun. Probably just be like, I don't even remember building any of this stuff.
I think it'll prove our point too. Like there are things that like are absolutely 10x worth their value. There are other things that we spent a lot of time on that we just don't even use, and ended up being like probably worthless. Well, I mean, maybe to us, but Anyway,
I think that's a good way. Maybe we should.
Rory, I'm thinking like we should call out
Buc-ee's.
Bucky. We should call out some Bucky subscribe. Like we need some Bucky employee subscribers.
Yeah, I think that's who we have to ask this time. Ask your, if you're in any of those states that Buc-ee's is available.
Where's the closest Buc-ee's to you? Now that I ask, because I'm not really sure of where their placement.
One down in like Virginia, maybe like Virginia.
Like how far is that for you?
By car?
Like a couple hours?
Yeah, 5 hours.
Oh,
5.5 hours.
Okay, yeah.
6 hours maybe.
Yeah.
Depending on traffic.
Yeah, we got some. I think the closest one I think right now is like an hour.
Yeah, you have to have some within driving distance of you.
Yeah.
There's no space here for a Buc-ee's. Like you can even
I know,
fit
yeah,
one
that's what I was just thinking. I was like,
area.
I was wondering where the closest one would be.
There's no open land in these 3 states here. But that's a good one. We should shout out the Buc-ee's employee. But because we have made it this far, and you've made it this far. Typically, if you make it this far too, you also get like the random stream of consciousness nuggets.
But you also get the best nuggets.
Yeah. The best nuggets. So we don't do that on purpose. We just get to it at some point. Figure out what we actually want to say by the end of the episode. But that being said, if you're still here, you gotta do just like one thing. That's it. One. Like it, subscribe it, tell somebody, tell your Buc-ee's and your local Buc-ee's employee.
We're at 52K. We didn't even like shout out the 50K thing. So
did we?
Like we passed 50K.
Okay.
Next milestone 100, and I think we just went over 52. So please help us out. Please help us out. I think we can get there before the end of the year.
I think so. You guys, if you guys want to see more of us, that'd be cool. Because then we could probably record more than once a week. If that's the case, seed that one there. But if you guys have been doing great. Just number one, we'll say that the amount of comments and DMs and things that we've got, we've been like re-inspired by it because we don't realize how many people listen and what we only see the number that doesn't like really have any tangible feeling to it.
Exactly.
So if you say something, it makes us feel we're doing something important. But it's been good. We appreciate the feedback on that stuff. We appreciate the ideas, the guest responses, the liking, the sharing, the telling your quantum physicist, because it all helps
that one
us
paid off.
stay motivated. Yeah.
Maybe that was the delta. Like we got those 2,000. It was like the quantum physicists heard what was going on.
Yeah, but I think bigger and better things coming up. Let's wrap
it, baby. I think I'm excited about the future episodes too. The guests, like we mentioned in the beginning. So, yeah, man, this is a great way to end it. And hope you guys have a great weekend. And we will see you in the next one. Peace.
Later.